Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And today's guest is Ron Rightnowar. And most of you know Ron from his analyst role with the Mud Hens. He works alongside Matt Melzak and does a great job. But he has a really rich and interesting path. And he played in major leagues and played for a year for the Milwaukee Brewers. But the context around how he got there and is really a historic ride. And he was right in the middle of that. And I had a bunch of questions for him, and I didn't really know how well he was going to do with some of the questions as far as what he would share. And to his credit, he was really candid, and it's a very interesting conversation, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. Well, Ron, thanks for joining us and give us an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. A lot of people know you from the booth, but I find your path really interesting, and just thanks for being open to having a conversation.
It's been such a lifelong endeavor for me, being a part of the Mud Hens and the organization. I couldn't pass it up.
So, Ron, let's say roughly six decades of on this earth. You've had many memorable and meaningful experiences and moments. But I'm going to take you to 1995 when you were pitching for the Milwaukee Brewers. And during that season, you struck out Wade Boggs, Don Mattingly, and Mark McGwire. Some pretty iconic. One of them's in the Hall of Fame. The other two pretty close, right? So the question I have for you is two. What pitch did you get strike three on? And was that strike three swing and a miss, or was it a called strike on all three?
I've remember it like it was yesterday, and they're both split fingers because that's the pitch that got me to the big leagues. I had a really good one. I developed it in Double-A. I had tried to throw it for years and develop it. Prior to that, I was primarily a sinker slider guy, and a guy who had to pitch to the edges, and But once I developed the split finger, I had my answer for left-handed batters. And actually, the story about Boggs and Mattingly was in Yankee Stadium. And back-to-back. I got them back-to-back, both swinging at split fingers that just dove down into the dirt. And they were two of the top 10 hardest to strike out in all of baseball. And I got them both in the same inning, so that was a big deal for me.
That's a big deal. And McGwire, was it a swing or a call?
Swing and miss, yeah. Just a fastball away, swing right through it, which he was prone to do. The guys I didn't have a lot of trouble with were the Albert Bells, the Frank Thomas, Mark McGwire, the big right-handed power guys. Because they're free swingers. They want to hit the ball a long way. So I could always entice them to swing at something off the plate or in the dirt or something. So I didn't have as much trouble. I just happened to throw one by him.
Wow. So that was 95. My frame of reference, being a Cubs fan, is that Bruce Sutter was big in the split finger.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you mentioned his name, because when I was developing it in Double-A, that was in London, Ontario, Chris Chambliss, the great Chris Chambliss from the Yankees, the 70s Yankees teams, was my manager, and a great guy, really great guy. And I was a huge Yankee fan. My nickname in high school was Reggie, after Reggie Jackson. So I was all about those 70s Yankees teams, and to be able to be playing for Chris was great. But he also had experience with Sutter. And he said, when I first started developing it, and it was really good. It just kind of the action started to go. And I was throwing it in the low 80s, the split. And it was going down really hard. It was really tough to hit. And he told me then, he said, your split finger's as good as Sutter's.
Wow.
And I was like,
high compliment.
Yeah. I was like, oh, come on. It's not that good. But it was really pretty good. And as you go up, then, you tinker with it and everything. And then the idea becomes people knew it was really good, so they wouldn't swing at it. If they could pick it up, they wouldn't swing at it. So the key for me was to learn how to throw it for a strike.
Wow. All right, this question here, I'm kind of foreshadowing that I feel like your path, your baseball path and your whole life path is really interesting. So, Ron, if a movie was made about your life or a book written about your life, what would it be called?
Well, I have given that some thought, and I did start a couple of chapters with a local sports writer in the early 2000s. Got a couple of chapters into that before he was relocated to another part of the country, so we never finished it. And I've thought about that some, and I think it has to be something like high calls, low calls, and the ones down the middle. And that seems like a working title for me for right now.
That covers the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Ron, you're a local guy, grew up in Toledo, went to Whitmer High School, but early on in your life, who were the people that shaped your baseball path, or just who you are as a person?
Well, my parents and my family, for sure. Dad was a hardworking union local 50 pipe fitter, went to work every day, just worked hard. Mom was a stay-at-home mom, different era, and Mom really took care of us, really loved us kids a lot. I was the talented little brother. My brother Rick was the baby, but I was number 4 of 5. And we were a basketball family, as you know. Rick played at the UT, and I played in high school. My brother Jim played in high school. But I just happened to be able to throw. So throwing a baseball for me was like, some people can run, some people can jump. I could throw. I could do it, and I never loved it. I just did it because I could do it.
When did you start pitching?
Like 8 years old.
Okay.
And one of the things, I never had arm. I pitched till I was probably 35, actively from 8 years old, and I never spent one day on the disabled list because my arm was hurt. I never had a surgery, never had a scope, never had anything. My arm's the same today as it was when I started, and so that family bond. My dad was a boxer, Golden Gloves boxer, so he liked sports. And we just grew up playing in the neighborhood like all of us did back then, and
was there some Rightnowar boxing matches?
Oh yeah, there was a famous one with my older brother Jim and my father. My father was a big man, and he was talented as a boxer. Well, he got us some gloves, and my brother Jim decided, my brother's pretty quick, and put the gloves on, was going to spar a little bit with my dad, and my brother quick hands. And so he's there sparring around, just jabbing around, bikes around. And my brother reached up and tagged my dad a little bit.
Not good.
And Dad didn't like that very much. And so he said, okay. He just reached up and he just went, pah! Snapped my brother across the head. Boom, down he went. Gloves came off, and that never happened again.
That's it. It's the end of the boxing.
Yeah, they'll put the boxing away.
When as a kid, Ron, who did you cheer for? Who were your idols, sports idols, and teams?
I loved Ron Guidry, the old Yankee, Louisiana
right.
Lightning. Lefty, He was left-handed, but what an athlete! I loved his athleticism. Fast, one of the fastest guys. He and Mickey Rivers in those 's Yankees team were one of the fastest guys on the team. He's a pitcher, but real athletic and just electric stuff on the mound. And then, of course, my hero was Reggie Jackson. Everything about him, his vibe, even though his braggadocious style and what he's known for, but as an athlete, as a competitor, to be able to come up in the situations and rise and be the straw that stirs the drink. I don't know if you're the one that's supposed to say that about yourself, but the ability to do it, to rise up in big moments and put the team on your back and care enough about your teammates to win a game like that, always just impressed me.
Mr. October, right?
Oh yeah. He was Mr. Everything to me, man. I just thought, that if I was able to play with a guy like that, it would be incredibly special to get to watch him play every day.
Yeah. Whitmer High School, what did the baseball experience there, how did that fit into your overall path?
We had great programs there. Rob Rose was the head coach at the time. Coach Dave Hall at Perrysburg was my JV coach. I actually played for Dave, which is amazing. He was fresh out of UT and a young guy coaching for Coach Rose as his JV coach. But we had so many kids in our grade. I think I graduated with just under 900 kids in my class. And it was a baseball community. And so we were bound to have a bunch of talented guys. When you need 25 guys out of 900, you can find some.
Right.
So we were really good, and we had state rankings and 27-2. I think remember one season. My sophomore year, the varsity was in the state Final Four. We were a regional team. It was a really competitive. With 3 Division I pitchers, guys that went Division I in my class.
Yeah.
And so it was just a really competitive environment, which made us all really good.
Where'd you play in the field when you weren't pitching?
I couldn't hit a lick. I'll admit it. I readily admit I couldn't hit at all. Some of it was
That
because I
might be
didn't
breaking
care.
news. If you're gonna emulate Reggie Jackson,
I couldn't hit. I mean, I guess I could a little, but I couldn't really hit. But I could field. I really loved to field. That's actually my favorite part of baseball. And again, I was a basketball player back then. I spent all my waking moments playing basketball. I didn't do anything with baseball. I just showed up and did it. So, but I love taking ground balls. I love playing shortstop. So I played short a lot. And a lot of times when we get in the tournament, they would DH for me, let me play defense and put a better hitter in the lineup for me. But I was a pretty good defender. So that was good. It's shortstop, first base, some, because I was tall. So
right. You played Did you want to play basketball beyond high school?
Desperately. I was certain I was. Actually, I was going to go to Division II school in the Glee. I was going to go to Saginaw Valley. I was going to play basketball and baseball. I was going to be on and I just decided I was better than that, and I wanted to go push myself a little bit, but I wasn't going to be able to do it in basketball. And so I went to Eastern Michigan on a whim on a one Saturday afternoon, said, you know what, I'm a Division I player. I'm going to play Division I. And I called the baseball coach. They had been down to watch me pitch. That day I had a no-hitter with 2 outs in the 7th inning and gave up a double off the wall that I thought was gone. But
you seem to remember that
it was
yesterday,
crucial
right?
because I was popping off like Reggie Jackson in the dugout. It's in the bag. It's in the bag. And sure enough, the kid hits it, smokes it over the left fielder's head for a hit. Next pitch, he's out. But the Eastern was there to see that game. And obviously I pitched pretty well, but I really wasn't all that interested. I could do it, but I didn't love it.
Right.
And so then I said, well, let me go try baseball. So I go up there and I was miserable. I was in the gym, in the rec facility, playing with the varsity basketball players at Eastern at the time. Jim Boyce was the head coach. Fred Cofield, Grant Long, some of the players that played.
Good players.
I mean, I'm playing in the gym with them every day. That's all I want to do. And I'm on the baseball team. Right. So my first couple of years, I didn't get much time here and there, pitched a little bit. And then I started to grow up. I was a 17-year-old freshman at Eastern. So I was probably a year ahead. I started school early. So being so young, I really hadn't physically matured. But then I started to gain weight, 15, 20 pounds by the time I'm end of my sophomore year, junior year, becoming a young man. And all of a sudden the velocity starts to creep up. I was probably low 80s at the time, 83, 80, 45 maybe. And all of a sudden it's going 88, 89, 90. And I'm starting to throw the ball by people, and people starting to notice. And they're going, hey, wait, what's going on here? So we get in MAC play. Then my junior year, I'm our number 1 starter now. I've matured that much. But I'm going against guys like Kevin Tapani. If you remember Kevin Tapani, pitched in the World Series for the Twins, and he was from Central Michigan. And I would always end up getting matched up against those guys. And, he threw 94, 95 and was electric, and they were really good. So my junior year was rough because I was now in the number 1 seat, but at least it sparked an interest in me in baseball. Like, okay, maybe I can do something with this. And then had a pretty good senior year, ended up signing after my senior year with the Tigers.
With the Tigers.
Yeah.
And when you signed with the Tigers, Ron, you kind of went into it like, I'll do this for a little bit so I can tell my friends back home that I played beyond college. But you discovered something when you went to spring training.
Oh yeah, I really had no plans for it. I didn't really project myself into the big leagues. Again, I'd never really thought about baseball that way. But I was competitive enough and had been in sports long enough that look, as if I got a uniform, I got a job to do, I'm gonna go for it. So the very first day of spring training in I guess it was '87, spring training of '87. I get to camp, and I'm expecting some super talented guys, first, second, third round picks. And sure enough, they were there. There's the first round pick from last year. There's the third round pick from this year. And they're bigger guys, athletic dudes, just like me, and throwing 95, 96. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not that. Right. But then there's all these other guys. There's the elite guys for sure. But there's about 150 pitchers or so, I think, at the time in the minor leagues with the Tigers that are in camp. And I'm looking around that first day, and I'm seeing these guys, and I'm watching. Everybody's throwing, they're throwing to catcher. Everybody gets a little bullpen work in or whatever, and I'm watching, and I'm thinking, oh, if this is the competition, I can do this. I knew a couple hours into our first workout that I was going to pitch in the big leagues. I know I'm the only one who thought that. The Tigers didn't think that. Probably my family and friends didn't, but I knew I could. And as long as I thought I could, I was going to do it because I didn't see anything that was so above my ability that I couldn't make it happen.
Yeah. And you maintained that belief, Ron, for 8 or 9 seasons.
Oh, yeah.
How did you persevere? Because that's a grind.
It's an amazing grind. Going to the minor leagues, what these guys do every day, riding those buses and making it even to this level in Toledo with the Mud Hens is quite an accomplishment. Yes. But I was getting better. If I had leveled off or plateaued or just started to stagnate at all, I think I probably would have hung it up and moved on.
And the split finger came what, 3rd, 4th year of the minors?
Yeah, it would have been my low A in Fayetteville, North Carolina, high A in Lakeland, Florida, 3rd year double A, London, Ontario. Wasn't that first year double A, it was my 2nd year. So yeah, it was my 4th year. I remember the day it popped off for me. We were in Albany, New York. I'm playing catch before the game like you see the Mud Hen players do before every game here. I'm out there playing catch with my friend, just loosening up. And I would always throw a few just to see if I could get it to come out of my hand right. And all of a sudden, it starts coming out of my hand and going whoop, whoop. And I'm like, and I said, I got it. I took it into the game that night. And that was JT Snow, Gerald Williams, Bernie Williams, right. All those guys run that double A Yankees team. And Buck Showalter was the manager. I took it right into the game. And it
was your catcher ready
changed
for that?
Everything. Oh yeah. They once they got to see it, they could adjust to it. Yeah. It's no different than a hard-breaking curveball, but just the deception because of the arm action and all that stuff is a little different. But it changed everything because now, even though I had the belief in myself, now I had the belief in my stuff.
Right.
Now I had something that I could. This will work again. I don't care if Ted Williams goes up there. If I throw this, he ain't hitting it. It's moving down that fast. They're going to roll over it. I'm going to be able to get outs with it.
Right.
But prior to that, like, how are you ever going to get those guys out up there? Yeah. And one of the things I think that I learned in my career as a pitcher, what I think guys need to do, and I would tell every guy here to do, is I always evaluated myself honestly. If I made a bad pitch, if that, just because I got an out, but it wasn't the pitch I was trying to make, I just got lucky and got it out. I was honest with myself to say that wasn't the right pitch. That's a mistake, because you make that mistake in the big leagues and you probably just gave up a home run.
Right.
So be able to evaluate your performance and your ability honestly, and using a style that will work in the big leagues, because up there they don't, everybody swings at bad pitches, but for the most part, they know the strike zone, and they're not going to come out of their zone just because you throw them some nasty split finger or curveball or changeup down and away out of the zone. Right. Most of the time, they just spit on it, and they say,
"Throw it again.
Throw it. Come on, something else. Throw it over the plate."
Right.
So you have to be able to get people out on the plate in the big leagues. If you walk people or you're constantly behind in the count because you're nibble, they will eat you for lunch and you won't be there for long.
Right.
And I played with guys who would go get called up and they were dominating double A, triple A, just doing really, really well because guys are swinging at everything.
Yeah.
And then they would go up there and walk the world because they couldn't master the strike zone, so they get sent down.
Right. Ron, part of your minor league career was with the Mud Hens. 3 years, a full season and 2 partials.
Yeah, parts of 4, actually.
Parts of 4,
yeah, 90,
okay.
91, 92, and 93 when I finally got them to trade me to Milwaukee.
So before we get to the trade part, how was it being a hometown guy playing for the Mud Hens? Now, obviously, it wasn't Fifth Third Stadium, but it was at Ned Skeldon.
It was the best. I mean, at the very least, when I started out, like, if I can at least make it home to play for the Mud Hens, that would be really cool. Because I was the little kid. I used to go to the Mud Hen camps when I was a kid. I remember being out at shortstop at Skeldon, and Alfredo Griffin was the shortstop for the Twins at the time. Alfredo had a big gold tooth and a blue glove, and he was teaching us how to play shortstop. I remember it like it was yesterday. Right. And then all these years later, I get to come back, and I'm in the uniform. Now I'm actually instructing kids at the Mud Hen Clinic as a player. Years later, I end up running them down here a couple of times. It's just been amazing. So coming home to play, obviously the family and friends and people got to come out. Somebody every night would say, "Hey, Rod, good to see you." You know, somebody would always, and what a blessing to be able to do that for my mom and dad. My father-in-law came every night, sat right behind the screen every night. And he was so proud, and it was just a great time. But that gets old quick. You know, like, you know, we got this far and it's great. And part of what I felt like as a player may or may not be true. Somebody would have to tell me. But it felt like they did that. They had me here. They were content to just have me. He's the hometown kid. You know, like, I'm a little novelty. I'm like Muddy and Madonna. You know, I'm part of the scenery,
right,
you know, as the local kid. But, you know, I have aspirations. You know, at times pitching for the Hens, I was as good as anybody we had. And I thought for sure I was getting called to the big leagues, only to really discover that they really didn't have any plans. You know,
how did you discover that, or did you just figure it out?
It just couldn't be. You know, I'm pitching better. You know, than they need. You know, at the time, I remember the Tiger bullpen was struggling. They had a rough time, and you know, I was pitching really well. There's nobody here better than, like, if you're gonna go get somebody, it's got to be me. I'm pitching better than all these guys, and it wouldn't happen, and it'd be kind of like, okay, well. Just don't seem to be being good enough, and I have to eat that. I have to live with that. I'm not. They don't think I'm good enough. I think I am, and I think I could help, but it's okay. They don't, and that became so abundantly clear when we had a guy get hurt. This is when I was pitching for Joe Sparks in '93. We had a guy in the rotation get hurt. He called me and got me in the rotation because I could do a little bit of everything as I ended up being more of a setup closer, late inning guy. But most of the time I was a middle reliever, spot starter. I would get 10 spot starts a season. So I did a little bit of everything. I was kind of like the utility pitcher. So I got into the rotation when one of our starters went down because we needed a spot starter. Did pretty well. And I had 6 straight starts, each one progressively better. Like every one, I went a little longer, gave up less hits, less runs every time, to the point where the 6th one was a home game against the Rochester Red Wings at Skeldon. I went 8 shutout innings, and then, you know, all my buddies were all over me because they wanted me to get the shutout pitch to ninth. But I took myself out. I was gassed. I was tired. So put in a guy pitch to ninth. We get the shutout. After the game, I go in and they call me in the office. I mean, I just pitched 6 consecutive starts in a row, really, really well, each one better, and I just threw a shutout. I'm thinking, I got a chance. And sure enough, they called me in the office after the game. And I was like, am I going to get called up? Is this it? Is this the call? And they said, well, we're going to put you on the disabled list. And I said, I'm not hurt. They're going to put you on the disabled list because we really don't see you pitching for us in the big leagues. And we feel like we're leading you on. And we really want you to be in the organization as a coach. Go for the rest of the season. This is early August. Like maybe about this time of the year, maybe a few weeks from now. Go to our other minor league affiliates, work with the pitching coaches there, and see if you're going to like being a pitching coach and come back to spring training next spring as one of our coaches.
It's tough to hear.
I was crushed.
Yeah.
Crushed. Because I knew I was getting better. I was getting better. And I know I can do this. I know I'm not done, but what am I going to do? I said, so what are my alternatives? I asked him, I don't know, what are my options? He said, well, you can sit here for the rest of the year on the DL because we're not going to pitch you. You're going on the disabled list. Or you can go to these other minor league franchises and work with it and see if you're going to like coaching. But that's really it. But we're kind of done with the pitching part. So I went. I actually went and coached. I coached for Larry Parrish in Erie. I went to Bristol, Tennessee, with the AA. Came back to work with Jeff Jones for the Mud Hens. Now I'm on the coaching staff. I'm in the coach's office, and all my teammates are looking at me like, "What are you doing? What is going on with you?" And then, sure enough, as irony has it, they have another injury. And I haven't pitched in 3 weeks. I was gone for 3 weeks coaching, come back and I'm still coaching, but I'm coaching in Toledo. And somebody goes down. And Joe Sparks calls me at 2 p.m. Imagine just time of this taping, 2 p.m. They have a game that night. 2 p.m. He says, hey, Ron, I'm going to get you activated. So-and-so's hurt. We need somebody. and I'm gonna get you activated, and you're starting tonight.
Wow.
Well, I was like, what? I haven't been on the mound in 3 weeks. And when I was on the mound, I was throwing 2 and 3 inning stints. Now I'm starting. Okay, whatever. I get a chance. I'm active. I got a shot. As long as I'm active, I got a chance. So sure enough, I go report to the field. I'm getting my gear on. All my teammates are looking at me like, "Go, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm active. I'm starting tonight." And they're like, "You got to be kidding me." So I start. I went 5 innings against Syracuse. I'll never forget it. It was against Syracuse Chiefs. Went 5 innings. I think I gave up 3 or 4 runs, but I went 5. They needed a body, and I gave them 5. You know, we have a hard enough time doing that now.
Right.
And after the game, I'm thinking, okay, I'm active again. Sweet. I'm back on the track. I'm going. After the game, they call me in and tell me, okay, thanks. Pat me on the back, say you're back on the DL. Thanks for coming. Now I'm getting angry.
Right.
You know, and so Joe Sparks was a big advocate. He was the manager of the Hens at the time. He really liked me, appreciated the fact that I would take the ball when a lot of guys wouldn't. You know, I think I pitched 9 days in a row, one season for the Hens, like 9 consecutive nights. And he just respected that. And so he was a big advocate for me, and he wanted to activate me. He thought I deserved to be active. Well, it wasn't going to happen, and there's a few other aspects to that story, but I just finally said, if somebody else wants me, will you let me go? If I'm able to find a trade partner, I had a little agent, wasn't much of it, but he would reach out. I think he sent a fax to all the teams or something,
Right.
you know, like, hey, old right-hander available. And the Brewers needed somebody in AAA. You know, they were trying to make a playoff push. I don't know if they had an injury or whatever. So they orchestrated a minor league trade. I'll never forget it. We were in Richmond playing the Braves. And Jonesy comes down the bullpen and says, hey, you're out of here. You got traded. I'm like, sweet. You know, I was like, okay, well, see you, fellas. It's been real, you know. So I flew to Oklahoma City to meet the New Orleans Zephyrs team, the AAA team of the Brewers.
And that was at the end of the 93 season, right?
End of 93, right. And then finished that season with them. Was now a 6-year minor league free agent, so I could go anywhere I want. Signed back with the Brewers. Cecil Cooper, if you remember Cecil Cooper, the real good hitter and player for he was affiliated, had a relationship with a team in Venezuela. So they liked what they saw in that little bit. They only got a little tiny bit of me at the end of the season, right? So they sent me to winter ball in Venezuela. I went down there to pitch, did pretty well. Came back to spring training in 94.
Had a great season.
Had an unbelievable season. I mean, when I tell you that I could throw my slider blindfolded and it would go exactly where I wanted to. It was just one of those, like when you're locked in as a shooter, you're in the zone. All of 94, I was in the zone.
You must have got some starts because you were like 8-2.
I had about 4 or 5. Like I just did everything. I had some starts, but I came into so many one-run situations. In fact, that season in 94, people don't believe this stat, but it's true. I came into 10 bases loaded or first and second situations with nobody out. Okay, 10 times I come into the game, bases loaded, or at least first and second, nobody out, and didn't give up a run. None of those inherited runners scored. That's hard to do. Yeah. And it was mainly because of the split finger, because I could come in and get the strikeout. They didn't put the ball in play. Anything scores a run, right? A little ground ball, a little blooper, anything. Well, the split finger was so good that I was just punching guys out all over the place. So make the AAA All-Star game in 94. You know, I'm
ERA's around 2.
Just about to go under 2, like 2.12 or something like that, 2.25, something like that. And really dominating. I mean, I'm leading in appearances too. I've been in more games than anybody else. And so I was the unanimous selection to the AAA All-Star game in Nashville. I closed that game. Julian Tavares was our starter, if you remember him, with the Indians, and I closed it. Garrett Anderson was in that game. Carl Everett, some great players.
And the Brewers are giving you hints like, hey,
yeah,
hang in, we're about
you're
ready to
better
call
than
you up.
some of the guys we got here now, and we like you, you know. And it was the first time in my entire career. So now I'm in my 7th year, 8th, whatever it was.
And you're 29.
Yeah, and it's the first time I had anybody in professional baseball look me in the face and say, "You throw like that, you're going to pitch for us in the big leagues." Nobody ever told me that before. For the 7 years that I was with the Tigers, Not one person had ever said, we think you can pitch in the big leagues. I knew I could. I needed to get better for sure. I was not ready my first 3-4 years. But after that, I was pretty good. But it wasn't happening. And so that inspired me. I've tried to do that as a coach later on in my life, as I've coached high school ball and with kids and stuff, my own sons. The power of inspiration.
Yeah, your words matter, right?
That words matter. And it elevated me. When it was Chris Bando who said it. When he said that to me, I said, thank you. Finally, somebody said what I really believe is true. And sure enough, so now the Brewers are calling and wanting to call me up. And but I wasn't on the roster. So I was a non-roster guy. So they only have a 40-man roster. Some minor league guys, obviously all the 25 big league guys. So they're trying to figure out a way who they're going to take off the roster to be able to add me to call me up, because I have to be on the roster to get called up. So, kind of all that was going on. I was still pitching well, waiting. It sounded like pretty obvious I'm going to get called up. It's looking pretty good. And then August 14th, 1994.
Player strike, right?
August 12th. Maybe it was August 12th.
Yep.
But early August, 94.
And so that dashed the opportunity to come up in September, obviously.
Because
that strike went into 95.
I was so waiting for that call. And then when that happened, they're like, hey, we know. I broke down. I was bawling. I thought, what do I have to do?
Right.
And I just could not believe it. And they're just saying, don't worry about it. We'll call you up in September. Once this gets resolved, we'll call you up in September. Well, we know there was no September, no October, no World Series, no nothing. And I'm just, that was the high call right then for me. And that was a spiritual thing, because it was like, I couldn't do anything more. There's nothing more. I couldn't create a new pitch. I couldn't get stronger. I was what I was, and it wasn't good enough. It's not good enough. And I just heard, it was just like, this is not about you, Ron. I heard that still small voice in my head that I believe is God, and calling in my life. And his calling me is just saying, like, look, you have to do things my way. You've always had the ability to do this, but I'm not going to allow it. And I'm so thankful today that he didn't allow it, because I don't know that I would have had time for him. And so when I realized that, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do everything. I'm just gonna dedicate myself to learn it, to being the best guy I can, to follow in Christ, and to be the Christian man that He's called me to be. I stumble and fall, I fail, but I know this is right. And I just heard it like a still small voice in my heart and my head that just said, now you understand. Now watch what I do. Now that it's not all about you anymore, Reggie Jackson. Now that you understand this has always been about me and what I will do in and through you, watch what I do. Yeah.
And we could stop this conversation right here and be very interesting, but it got even more interesting for you.
Oh my gosh.
So you were put in a really challenging position.
Yeah, I was. So that winter then, because there's no World Series, so I went to winter ball in the Dominican. And I'm playing with Manny Ramirez and Felix Fermin. It was an Indians-based team. Moises Alou, Louis Polonia, Stan Javier, all these guys on my team. Julian Tavares was on my team, Bartolo Colon. So I'm in the Dominican, and I start getting these phone calls from Fred Stanley, Chicken Stanley, the minor league coordinator, played on those great Yankee teams that I knew Fred, but now he's working for the Brewers. He's calling me saying, hey, looks like this thing's going to last a while. We're trying to put some guys together to play these spring training games because we don't know if it's going to get resolved or not. They're digging in their heels. It's getting pretty ugly. So we got to assemble a group of guys to at least play these spring training games. No. I just stayed way clear of that because I never got on the roster. Had they called me up, had the strike not happened, and I'd been up one day when I should have been because I earned it, I would have been a major league player at that time, and I'd have been out on strike with them. But because I've never had a time in the big leagues and I never got called up, I'm still outside. I'm not on the roster. So I have to report to spring training. The organization owns me. So I have to go to spring training. And I was already a non-roster invitee to camp. They had already extended that to me because I was AAA All-Star. I was expected to make the team anyway. So I was going to big league camp. And I was like, I have spent my life getting this to earn this opportunity. And nobody gave it to me. I earned it. And I was going to take it. And so I said, okay, I'll go to these spring training games. If you remember that goofy spring of 95, guys that were playing, they're all, some retired guys, some just minor league veteran guys formed these replacement teams that they seemed prepared to open the season with. As you talked, I listened to the pod you did with Tom Runnels, and he was kind of in the middle of that too. And so, I pitched really well. The big league pitching coach needs to see a throw. He wants to see a throw. I pitched really well, was doing really well. And then they solved it. I had already told them I'll pitch in spring training because I had earned this opportunity. This is what I was going to have anyway, but I'm not, if these replacement games actually happen and they start a regular season, I'm out. I'll go to
you
AAA.
viewed the spring training as an audition.
Yeah. It was I'd earned that opportunity to pitch in front of the big league coaches and staff, and Phil Garner was the manager, and he's sitting next to me at my locker saying, hey, we really need to see a throw. What am I supposed to do? So I pitched, but I wasn't going to play in the regular season. I made that clear. I would just go to AAA and wait it out. So it got resolved. Like the last week of spring training, it gets resolved, right? So the big regular guys come back, and I'm like, oh, thank God. So I'm ready to okay, they're coming back. I was going to be in camp with them. So I'm ready to stay. And they're like, oh, no. You got to go. Because there was such hard feelings, and the union had postured so much about these scabs and all these, names and all the things that were calling these guys in replacements who were anything but. They didn't have any choice. And so they said, you got to go to AAA while we have a shortened, expedited spring training and get the season underway. And then maybe we'll figure out a way to get you up after that. And I was like, are you kidding me? I got to go do it all over again. I got to go be a AAA. I got to do it again. So I went down in 95, and I was leading all of AAA in appearances again. And I was doing pretty well. I had, 7, 8, 9, 10 saves, and I was straight out closing now. And sure enough, one of the guys after that shortened spring training, one of the guys didn't come out of the gate real good, and he wasn't quite ready. And so May 20th, 1995, I get the call. I was so pumped, and had to fly to meet the team in Texas, the ballpark at Arlington in Texas. They're playing the Rangers, and it was happening. This is the real thing, the real McCoy. But I was first. I was the Jackie Robinson of the replacement players because I was first. And I knew from the very beginning that because of the year I'd had previously, I knew I was squarely in the bullseye of that whole thing between the union and the owners. I was dead in the bullseye of it. That's why I was first. And so I get to the field in Arlington, and if you ever seen the movie The Rookie with Dennis Quaid, and the last half hour of that movie is him reporting to the ballpark at Arlington. It has him pulling up in a cab, and he gets out of the cab, and he looks up at the stadium and everything. And I saw that movie, I just started crying because that was me. That's exactly the scene. I'm like, there is no way I'm here right now. So I go to the clubhouse. You got to report to the manager's office. Go in to see Garner. He's telling me, okay, we know the situation. So just do what you've been doing. You've been doing great. You've been throwing the ball great. Just, if you perform, nobody's going to care. So I'm in his office doing this. I had a locker, kind of assigned to me. Come out of his office after that initial meeting. Got to get dressed for batting practice. So I'm getting my stuff. When I come out of his office and I look, everybody that had been anywhere near my locker that was assigned to me had moved their locker to the other side of the room. So I'm like, okay, this isn't going to be great. And so a couple of my friends from AAA, the previous year in 94, played together. Friends were kind of like, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know if they were allowed to come talk to me or not because I was like persona non grata in the clubhouse.
So no one welcomed you. You walked
No,
into that.
no. And then we went outside for BP, so I'm out there just loving it, though. I mean, I don't care. I'm still loving it, like walking around, just looking at the
Anyone
stadium.
talking to you on the field?
And then slowly, Scott Carl, Mike Matheny, who was my roommate and catcher, and Steve Sparks, knuckleballer, kind of made their way over and was like, congrats, man, congrats. It's really cool. So they were supportive, but they couldn't. They're rookies, too. They didn't want to tick off the veterans, so they're like kind of keeping their distance. So I understood it completely. And, I'm not a kid anymore. I've had this all happen at 22, 23. I might have reacted some type of way. But I'd come too far. I was an adult man with a couple of little boys, husband, and this was my shot, and I'm taking it because I earned it. And so that we go in, BP ends, I go in the clubhouse, and Kevin Seitzer, strong Christian man, Christian believer, comes up to me and he says, look, but he's also a veteran player and one of the voices of the club. So he comes up to me and he says, hey, if you want to address the team, I'll call a meeting and you can address the team after BP in the clubhouse. First day in the big leagues. So I said, sure, I'll do it. So he says, hey guys, gather up, get your locker, whatever, finish up. We got a new player today and he's got something to say for you. There you go. Have at it. That was it. That was the introduction. Okay. So I just told the story. Like, who am I going to trust? I have to trust somebody in this situation. And for me, it was easy to trust you, the players, my peers, who might possibly understand the position I was. Were
you getting eye contact, or did you
get they're burning holes in me.
Burning holes.
Yeah, it was not warm, not even close. It was, they're going to have at it. I know, as soon as I'm done talking, they're having at me, I'm sure. So I just told the whole story. And I had to choose to trust somebody. Do I trust management, but do I not choose not to play in those games? And they release me because I'm not doing what they're asking me to do. They're the boss. Or do I trust you so I play in the games and trust you to understand the dilemma I was in? I chose you. I chose to trust you, who could possibly understand what it was like in that situation, where I was in the crosshairs. And then finished up. I said, I'm just here to pitch. If I can't do my job, I'm going to be out of here anyway. Then you could leave me up here if I can't get anybody out. But if I'm here to help, and we'll see. And they start one by one firing at me. Well, if you thought this and you thought that, or what so about 10 or 15 minutes of that, and I answered every guy. They weren't happy, but that was it. Time to get ready for the game, so call that off. And it did earn a bunch of respect in the room because a few of the guys came up and said, hey, let's just go to work, okay? Let's just go to work, do your thing, and then, we'll see what happens. Got through that.
That's a hell of a first day.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. Amazing first day. And I was like, so I get to watch the first night. The second night I'm there. Now, this is my second day in the big leagues. It's a great story. Bill Wegman starts. If you remember Bill Wegman, Cincinnati, great guy. He's now a pastor in Cincinnati, just wonderful guy. He starts the game, and he hits a guy early in the game. Okay? I'm not sure if it was on purpose. Maybe Noam Wegge probably was. He didn't like him or something. And then the guy came up again. He hit him again. So he gets tossed in the game. It's early, maybe third, fourth inning. So I came up the day before, and a young guy, draft pick, who wasn't a replacement guy, came up the next day right after me, a little left-handed guy named Sid Roberson. So this is his first day in the big leagues. And he's like 22, 23, 24 years old, kid. And so he hasn't thrown a pitch in the bullpen, but when a guy on the mound gets thrown out, what happens? They got to pull somebody out. You got to go warm up on the mound. So in his major, I'm sure he's a couple of firsts. I'm sure he's the only one to ever have to come in his major league debut like that. And then 2 batters later, he hits Mark McLemore in the foot because now the game's under a warning. Anybody else gets hit, pitcher's gone, manager's gone. So he comes in, he hits Mark McLemore in the foot with a curveball. It just snapped it. It hit him in the foot. They throw him out. He got thrown out in his major league debut. Oh, man. So now we're all sitting there. So now our starting pitcher's gone, our reliever's gone, and we're all sitting out in the bullpen, which is out in left field. And Texas. And I'm just sitting there like, whoa, this is crazy. And they call down to the bullpen and they go, you're in. And I'm like, and I haven't thrown a pitch, I haven't done anything. And I'm like, oh, here we go. This is it. So I go running out there. And remember, everybody in the place, there's probably 30,000 people there. Everybody in the place knows who I am. I'm that guy. I've been on the Fabulous Sports Babe radio show nationally.
There's a lot of media.
Around it. And you know, like, oh, here comes the scab guy. Here comes the replacement dude. So there's a segment of the people who are all over me. And there was a segment of the crowd who loved me because I was the ultimate underdog. You know what I mean? They loved it. Yeah, go show them. I was the everyman.
Right.
I represented them out there. So they saw in me maybe what would happen if they had to go pitch, you know? Right. So it was kind of cool. So I get out there, and now we've had 2 guys thrown out. The manager's been thrown out. And I jog in from left field, get there, and they're playing the Beatles. He's a real nowhere man. Wow. Living in his... Yeah, that's the song they chose. So I'm like, oh, yeah, this is great. So I get out there, and Drew Kosk is the umpire, and he's a very arrogant guy. And he's throwing the ball up and down, waiting for me to get there. I get there, and he tosses me the ball, and he says, don't hit anybody, or you're gone too. Like, okay.
Good to know.
Yeah. I'm like, hit anybody. I'm just trying to hit the catcher. I'm like, right. Can't even feel my arm. So I warm up, throwing great. It's just so ecstatic to even be in that situation. Finish warming up and turn and look to center field. And the camera must have been behind home plate on my back because it said Rightnowar 33 was my number. And I could see it on the Jumbotron in center field. And I was rubbing up the ball. I was looking, and I was just like, God, you're amazing. There's no way that I'm here without you. And he says, now you understand. Now you get it. This is what it's been about because I got something more for you to do later on. So that was the debut, man. It was unbelievable.
And your season with the Brewers, you were 2-1. You had about a 5.0 ERA, mm-hmm. And at the end of the season, they decide not to re-up you. How does that work? Yeah,
and after a couple of weeks, I pitched pretty well up there. I was in like 36, 37 games. Was one of the primary setup guys out of the bullpen. I did pretty well. I had a couple of games that were bad, but I didn't have a lot of innings, so my ERA was a little higher. But overall, I probably pitched. In 32 out of 36 games I was in, I pitched pretty well. Yeah. But baseball had wanted to put the strike thing in their rearview mirror. They had, let's get this behind us. Let's move forward. We got, McGuire and Sosa and the whole home run. Let's forget the strike. It was ugly.
Was there any other replacement players playing in
and subsequent guys, Ron Mayhay with the Red Sox came up. We brought up Brian Gibbons, a left-handed pitcher.
Okay.
So there was smattering throughout.
You were the first one.
But I was the first one. Yeah. And they wanted all that to go away. They wanted no remnants of that left if they could, And so at the end of the season, I'm, to sign back, I'm talking to Sal Bando, who was the GM of the Brewers. And Sal said something, about signing. And I said, what's the deal? Am I going to get offered a contract? What's the deal? And he said, Ron. And he hesitated. And he said, if I were you, I think I'd just move on with my life. Mm. What? I just spent a year in the big leagues. And this is a man I respect and admire. And in fact, his brother was the one who told me I was going to pitch in the big league. And he said, it was just odd to me that he said it that way. He said, if I were you, I think I'd just move on. Which says what, if we sit back and think about it? Which says to me that a decision had been made and that don't waste your time trying to do, this is not going anywhere for you.
He was doing you a favor.
Yeah.
For telling you.
I think he was telling, exactly. I think he was saying, don't put yourself through it, man. There's forces involved in this that are bigger than you and me, and, just go get on with your life.
How long did it take you to realize my playing days are done? Like after that conversation?
That was like late October, November, in the fall, after the season was over. I still was trying to, who can I get hooked up with? But I couldn't. In the last 2 years, there wasn't a lot of better setup relievers out there. And there's some awful bullpens out there. somebody would. I couldn't get a job. There was nobody going to sign me. So that decision really effectively ended my career.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for a thing because it transformed me, made me more confident as a man, and made me more confident as a Christian man. That God does care about the affairs of men and the details of our lives, and maybe He has something more for me to do. Yeah. And so then I became the founding area director of Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Northwest Ohio. There'd never been an office here, so Clint Longnecker and Gary Pinkel and Gus Yeager and John Harbaugh and all these wonderful people, John Ross, helped me get FCA started. And so I went around and started putting these things in high schools and junior highs and place for kids to go and find a foundation for living that is real and could really help them grow up and be fine people. So did that for a few years, was approached about coming at Toledo Christian, and then I spent 15 years as an administrator and AD and admissions guy and marketing, coaching, and right? Coached high school sports, basketball, baseball at Toledo Christian for 14 years. And then was approached about going into banking. Marty Sutter at Genoa Bank reached out and said, hey, I could use somebody like you at the bank, and went into banking in 2011. And so, I'm constantly kind of reinventing myself, but it's fun. God's kept it fun and kept it real. And, but the one constant throughout my whole life has been this organization right here.
The Mud Hens. And obviously now you're an analyst in the booth. You get to,
when Matt asked me to do that, I was excited. That was fun.
What do you enjoy about being an analyst?
I have a knack, and I don't know how much people like it or not, but I have a knack for understanding the game, like before things happen. It really helped me as a high school coach to anticipate what was going to be about to happen, so I could react accordingly. And in the booth, to me, that's the most interesting thing about baseball. Because for a lot of people who don't know the game, don't play the game, it's boring. It's too slow. It's baseball. Oh no, it's anything but. Most people see checkers when they watch baseball. I see chess.
Sure.
And so my job as an analyst really is to help them understand the chess. And so they go, I want them to have that, moment. Now I understand why they do that. That makes sense. So it gives them an insight and intrigue into the detail that these guys have to prepare and prepared their whole life to be able to pull off in an instant. Mm-hmm. To help them see that he was ready for that, and this is what caused him to be ready. And so all the permutations that can happen in a given situation are too numerous for anybody to handle in the moment. But if you've trained yourself and and you anticipate, you'll react properly most of the time. Right. So I try to do that for the fans, and I think they appreciate it. They're like, oh, yeah, that is kind of interesting. I never really thought about it that way. They just see the game. So that's what I like about it.
How much interaction do you have with the players, coaching staff?
I don't.
You stay out of the way with that?
I do. I have been asked. I did this year, spoke at the Faith and Family event here. Some of the players were interviewed by Chaplain Dave Rainier, who I know and coached against at Emmanuel Baptist, and a dear friend. He asked me to speak, and so I spoke at that. And I interacted with some of them there. I don't want to intrude into their space. I've been in that space. Yeah. I know that space. I want to leave them alone. If the job ever called for that, I certainly obviously would do it, but it really doesn't. My job is not them necessarily, is to watch them play and not to help them, although I think I could with some of them. I think I have something to offer them, but that's not my role. Sure. My role is to analyze what happens and explain that to the people listening. So I kind of keep it at that.
You have a favorite blooper in the booth?
Oh,
maybe you're mistake free.
Yeah, so. No. I have a bad habit, and I'll confess it. I have a bad habit of, like, if I get a drink of water or something, you got the headset on, you got the microphone right here, right? So I'll flip the microphone up, get a drink of water, take a bite of a hot dog, get a scoop of ice cream or something during the broadcast.
Multitasking.
And then Matt will ask me a question, and I start answering them. Well, the microphone's on top of my head. And he'll look at me, and I'm like, oops, sorry. So I do that a little too regularly, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh. Last question for you. So you've had this very colorful, rich path. if you had an opportunity to go back and talk to 22-year-old Ron Rightnowar as he was exiting Eastern Michigan with this goal or hope or dream of playing in the majors, but there's no guarantees, what would you tell to that young Ron?
Regardless of how it turns out, it's worth it. What you learn along the way, in the effort, in trying and giving the effort to do it, will last you forever. Because no matter how well you do, it's going to be for this long. Maybe you play till you're 30. Maybe you play till you're 32. It's over. You're still a young man. But what you learn along the way, remember it. Who you meet along the way, remember them and be grateful for them, for the input they've had in your life. Learn to be grateful. Learn everything you can learn, because those lessons, the lessons between 22 and 32, are going to be the ones that carry you the rest of your life. And they have. They've set me up beautifully for the things that I've done since. And I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah. Well, Ron, I'm really thankful for this time here with you, and I really appreciate your candor, sharing the goods, bad, the highs, the middles, and lows of your career and life path. And it seems like you should pick that book project back up.
I need to. Like I said, I have 5 sons. They're all graduated college now. In fact, the youngest is Derek. What a blessing. He's starting med school next month in August at Ohio State, going to be an eye doctor. And all of them are successful and professionals and starting to have babies. We've got 7 little grandkids running around now. So I'm really thankful, and I need to do it for them. Yeah. So one day when I'm long gone, that there's this memento of this one guy who did a couple of things.
Sounds like a great legacy to leave behind. But Ron, thank you for this, and we'll listen and see you in the booth.
All right. Thank you.